how can you leverage working in a smaller company while delegating HR responsibilities? At the very beginning, I talked a little bit about how a lot of the times leadership and C-suite positions don't necessarily know what's under the jurisdiction and what should be under the HR umbrella. And it's sometimes hard for them to not just pile things on HR's desk. I'm sure some people in the audience can relate to that. Dana, I'm curious, what are the advantages of working in a smaller company and or a smaller HR department, starting on a positive note here?
Yeah. So I think a smaller company and a smaller HR team allows for that more open communication. There's easier accesses to different people in the organization, higher collaboration, adaptability, and ultimately faster decision making. Oftentimes also with a smaller HR team, there's easier or more direct access to the CEO or owner of the company. And I think that allows really for that more instant directional movement. And when an HR leader has that opportunity and more direct access to the upper management, they're able to make a real change and really able to share some of the employee feedback that they're hearing and be that bridge between employees and upper management to help move the needle and make change in real time.
How can HR utilize, some of those advantages to the best of their ability?
Yeah, so I think it's, again, just being able to share the insights as in real time as possible. Just recently, actually, I finished up working on a turnover diagnostic with a mid-sized manufacturing firm in the United States with about 100 hourly employees with an HR of one. And one of the things we were able to help implement for her through technology was a red flag report. Where they were able to get, immediately from the exit interviews, red flags. The software is triggered to go directly to her inbox when moral, ethical, legal issues come up. She knows about it right away and can quickly elevate it to whoever it needs to be elevated and deal with it in real time before it hits the news or hits, hopefully not the courts or legal system. So that's just one of, example, I think, where we really can provide great benefit.
Absolutely. I love the aspect of sharing some of those insights with, not only C-suite and upper management, but also even those who are lower level employees, right? Maybe on the ground floor, and just being like, hey, this is what we're seeing. Here are the numbers. Here's what you can do to kind of help support those positive numbers. Having them being a part of that communication of the logistics of the company itself, even if you're a massive chain or a small mom and pop shop, there's something to be said about feeling like I'm a cog in the wheel of this company. And that loyalty is huge. Yeah. It's a huge driver of it, including having them have a seat at the table. And whether you're having one-on-one talks with them, whether it's team discussions, and just being like, hey, I'm someone that you could reach out to about this. I'm someone that wants to cue you in, and here's what you can do. And if you have any questions, reach out. Like, whatever it is, it's great. And if you can share those insights, of course, those that are acceptable at sharing, maybe not like things like red flags that Kevin can get ideas from, right? In terms of enacting in the company, but making sure that, they're like, hey, here's where we're doing really well. Here's where we need to improve. And this is really great. And we're seeing this. What can I do as HR manager to make your lives easier or to attract people like you? And, making them, again, having a seat at the table, I think is very, very crucial. Chason, looking at this next slide here on our last slide, we have 5 key tools for your retention starter kit. I loved this slide that you guys shared with me. Chason, my questions for you is, without spreading themselves too thin, or thinner that they are, I should say, how can HR departments of one or smaller HR teams delegate their general, more mundane tasks to technology so that time is, of course, freed up to work on, engagement, retention, whatever sort of protocol is there?
Yeah, so find the tools that save you time. Number one, how long is this taking me to do this? A great example from one of our viewers today. They're calling 5 people, they're following up, they're sending emails, they're writing, they're typing, they're coding. How much time is that taking? Do that math. And then find the tool that's going to cut that in half, because they're out there. They already exist. Anywhere you can save time to ultimately, unlike in the Olympics, which I'm sure we all enjoyed very much.
I miss
it. There's only one race.
Yes.
And it's with yourself against time. And you have to elevate HR's impact by reducing where we are stuck in the clutter and the paperwork. So anywhere there's automation for a recruiting, onboarding, creating template, everything. Never, ever start with a blank sheet of paper. Create the template, reusing those documents to streamline the process over and over. And maybe the QR code is sending them to the template where they have to do it. In terms of what's on this page, this is really the greatest hits. On the slide, you're seeing the number one thing to do for you in HR to get more resources is to calculate the cost of turnover. Because I assure you, most people in your organization have no idea how much it actually costs. Those numbers from 20 to 200% is very real. It's very actual. McDonald's spends 1,100 Happy Meals to replace a fry cook.
Wow. You
calculate the cost of turnover in the term of your product or your service. Show that to leadership. It will take, 700 reams, for us to pay to replace that manufacturing line worker, right? It will take 12 hotel nights, 15, 20 hotel nights to pay for that housekeeper. Now you're speaking in their language, right? Meredith, the international language, right? Everyone knows the international language, right? International language of love, right?
Sure.
Well, the language of business, the language of business, Mary D?
Tell me.
Money.
There you go. I love it. Yeah.
That's the language. Speak to leadership in that language. You have to know the cost of turnover, translate it into your product or service, walk in and say, yeah, we're losing, 800 salads, right? Well, let's talk about, is it worth spending a few $100 on some exit interviews, on some new hire tools, right? Yeah, it definitely is. It's going to put money back in our pocket. We're not going to have to make as many salads. Yes. And then getting those tools to understand reasons for joining, reasons for leaving. We have to understand these forces that are at work that you can't possibly keep in your head. It's just gone. And then also the difference between wanted versus unwanted turnover, or regrettable, non-regrettable. Underscoring, what was talked about before, that, not everyone should work at your organization. We really have to distinguish who are the people who we wanted, who were high performing, who left. Top performing organizations, this number is nearly zero. Turnover is a good number to know, but it's secondary to this. That is the knowledge and clarity that we are inspiring and engaging the people who want to be here and who we want to be here.
I'm curious, going off of that, what would be some free and premium tools that you would actually recommend specifically that these smaller HR teams can use? And I'm also going to send out this great poll question that I would love for people to fill out that we'll go over a little bit later. But Chason, go ahead.
Yeah. So Udemy has great training and learning to help expand your ability to provide skills to your staff. Talent Pulse can give you the pulse of the workforce and capture insights, across that employee life cycle. I think that Notion AI, and we'll put more, I think, in the follow-up list to help people know some of those, to take advantage of the ability to streamline and automate, what's happening, across that life cycle.
I love it. And I know we're running a little bit short on time here, but I want to get this one last question in for both Chason and Dana. And for anyone who would like to ask a question, guys, throw it in the chat. We will prioritize those live questions. I did get a couple of emailed in questions, which is super great, but I want to make sure that we get those live questions in as well. Chason, we'll start with you. What are one or two top tips, actions, or takeaways that our audience can leave with to, stop turnover within their company?
If you've calculated the cost of turnover, if you now know and can have clarity of what it is that it really costs, then now the next thing to do is to arm your managers with 3 questions. Free, no cost. This is as good as it gets. Encourage your managers to ask every one of their staff after this podcast next week 3 questions. Why did you join? Why have you stayed? Why would you quit?
Yeah.
If every manager at your company asked every one of their staff those 3 questions, I promise you, you would have a different week than you've ever had in the history of working there. What will surface, what will emerge will be relevant, meaningful, sad, challenging, invigorating, exciting. And most of all, it'll be true. It'll be real. It'll be the resonant sort of connective tissue of what binds your culture together. It doesn't cost a penny. I've been giving that single advice for over 20 years. I have people that have come back to me years later at a conference that I keynote, come back 5 years later to the conference, and they come up to me and say, those 3 questions changed people's lives.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And I think, yeah, again, having that challenging new outlook just based on those exit interviews or, the 3 questions that you have, I think is so inspiring as HR to be able to work on something that is exactly under their jurisdiction, what they're there for, right? And having that is ideal. So Dana, I'm curious, same question for you. What are 1 or 2 top tips, actions, or takeaways our audience can leave with?
Yeah, I think just going off of what Chason was saying, it's for HR leaders to be able to answer also these questions for themselves of knowing who's leaving, when are they leaving, why are they leaving, and what is it costing us? Because I think when HR has the answers to those questions, that gives us the how. How are we going to retain employees at our organization? So those answers really will empower us to create the best retention strategy for our companies.